Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. Jennifer, my older sister, has always loved being the center of attention, and my parents always gave it all to her. Hell, not just my parents, but my other siblings too. I wouldn't blame them because honestly, Jennifer did kind of have it. She had the looks and the intelligence. She was in the school's cheerleading team and kind of in top of all her classes. Yes, she was the typical look with the brain type of girl you would see in the movies. Unfortunately, she just didn't have the personality. Jennifer was a horrible person from the get go. She would bully people, lead guys on, and just be plain nasty. And the fact that I was the other girl in the family after her, I became one of her targets. Hell, things were so bad that at home I was tormented by Jennifer, and at school, people refused to talk to me because I was Jennifer's sister. Things got slightly better for me when Jennifer left for college. I mean, things were pretty much the same back at home. My parents tried to turn me into Jennifer because she had left, and I was constantly taunted by my siblings for not being feminine enough. Needless to say, my self esteem was horrible. Things did get better, though, or should I say, they got better for the worse. As soon as Jennifer left for college, her lifestyle became wild at the expense of my parents, who were paying for the entirety of her college experience. She started using the money my parents gave her for rent on drugs, alcohol, and other substances till a point that by the end of second year of college, she was thrown out of her apartment and was rusticated from her course for misconduct and poor attendance. This was truly a dark time for everyone in my family because Jennifer was like the light of their lives. And one thing my religious parents were very much against: drugs, and to save the family name. Instead of trying to help Jennifer, they cut all and every contact with her. Jennifer, too, had begun dating some rich jock at that time, so didn't really see any difference in her lifestyle after my parents cut her out. So now it was just me and my two elder brothers. I thought my parents finally understood my value. They understood how I was as capable as Jennifer and how much I strived to make them proud just as Jennifer did. They started treating me very well, respecting me around the house, showed interest in the things that I was doing. And I too started believing that they wanted to be there for me, but oh boy, I was so wrong. Unfortunately, I didn't realize this for a long, long, long time and continued to have this relationship with this. Hell, getting all this validation after being so affected, deprived for so long, even had me doing things for them that I didn't want to do myself, all for their appreciation and validation. That is how, after a year of my sister becoming estranged from us, I went off to college. By that point, we had no idea of my sister's whereabouts. She was off all her social media, and neither parties tried contacting each other. That is how I spent the entirety of my college years, being praised by my parents and siblings, having my college paid off, unlike earlier when my parents had told me that they wouldn't pay for my college tuition because they wanted to pay for Jennifer's. Around this time, I also met my boyfriend, James. James is an amazing guy, and I wasn't surprised when the moment my very conservative parents met James, they fell in love with him. I still remember that day. It was like their eyes just screamed that they wanted us to get married as soon as possible. It wasn't even like I was looking for their validation here, but it all felt nice. James, my siblings, and my parents developed an amazing bond. They'd often meet up during breaks, go clubbing, game together, watch movies, and so much more. It didn't take long for James to become a part of my family and for me to become a part of James's. With such a strong bond, you all can only imagine how amazing of a reaction everyone had when they found out that we were engaged. My parents were on top of the moon, so much so that they even offered to pay for the wedding as a gift. And being young kids out of college, looking to buy a house of our own, we gladly accepted the offer. Things after that were too amazingly well. All until I received a Facebook message from a name I found unfamiliar, but after simply clicking on the account, I found out it was Jennifer. And boy, had she changed. Not only Jennifer changed her name, she was with a completely different person than the one she had left us for. She had sort of become the preppy, yoga lover type of person and seemed off of drugs too. To her credit, this dude that she currently is with seems way more stable and had his life together. Regardless, I opened the request and saw her congratulating me for my engagement. Still being enthusiastic and full of hopes, I messaged her back and we began talking. She told me a lot about her life, how she has indeed been off of drugs and is living in New York with her partner. I was happy for her, and she seemed very happy for me. I knew I had to invite her to my wedding, but before that, right a couple of days before our wedding, I surprised my parents by inviting her over to their place. My parents were ecstatic seeing her. We all had a nice meal, and then I just left with my James to look after the last few details of our wedding. I also wanted them to catch up with each other before the wedding, but man, never would I have imagined that they were planning to ruin my wedding in all those days. The day of my wedding arrives and everything's amazing. We all have a blast, and Jennifer's partner, too, is present there. It is only until around the time where everyone is giving toasts that the real shit show starts. All of my family takes turns, one by one, to put me in my place, to remind me that they indeed only and ever will love Jennifer. All the speeches scream that, all admiring her for quitting drugs, comparing her to me, admiring her partner, her amazing figure. I just knew I was on the verge of breaking down. Everyone seemed awkward except for my side of the family, who were cheering for Jennifer as if she had returned from the war. I was holding back literal tears because I just felt my world coming crashing down. Everything started to make sense to me, and man, the next thing that happened just pushed me to it. After all the speeches from my side of the family, Jennifer's partner got up, got on his knees, and proposed to Jennifer. Not just that, though. My family got an entire cake for her, which said, "To future Mana, Papa, and grandparents." I was dumbfounded. I sat there stunned, as none of them even bothered to invite me over. I just knew at that moment they chose her over me once again, and I wasn't going to have any of it. So I got up and told them so. Not just Jennifer and her partner, but my parents too. I made it very clear to them that if they wanted to celebrate her instead of my wedding, then they could leave my wedding. They seemed stunned. It didn't take long for their anger to turn into rage, though, because soon they started to argue, not just with me, but with James too, leading them to leave the wedding. Their leave was followed by the entirety of my side of the family, leaving the wedding venue as a sort of protest. Needless to say, my wedding day was ruined. I still somehow managed to get through the day only to return home and have my phone blown up by everyone. Not just them, though, some of my husband's side of the family as well, blaming me for overreacting. So I can't help but wonder, AITA, what should I do here? I want to firstly thank you all for your encouragement and love. It was truly needed, not just for myself, but for my husband too, because my family have completely turned their backs on both of us. Heartbreak here would be an understatement because currently I feel like all the memories, interactions I've had with them were all lies, plain lies. I was used not just as a replacement daughter, but my husband used too, as a replacement son-in-law. And after their real daughter and son-in-law have returned, they threw us out of their lives very conveniently. I know I was a fool for believing them and a fool for thinking that there was a chance that they would actually love me for who I am. Everything feels like a blur as I type this, and even harder to accept that I have to end my relationship with them. I have blocked almost all of my side of the family after the array of messages they've been sending me, and I'm currently living in a situation that I can only describe as comfortable numbness. Me and my husband are going to leave for our honeymoon tomorrow, so for a while at least, I won't be replying to any comments or DMs, and also not update this post. Hi all. I'm back from my honeymoon and it turned out to be a very much needed break. While I was on my vacation, I received numerous messages from my brothers from different Facebook accounts that they made to reach out to me. They have been apologizing to me profusely, telling me that they want a chance to speak to me because something really bad has happened and apparently only I can help them get out of this situation. So I've been considering visiting them, not to help them, but to see what all the commotion's about. I replied to them that I will be visiting them tonight. So that's when I will update next. I'm back home from the visit to my parents, and oh boy, was it satisfying. As soon as I got home, I immediately pulled out my phone because that is how bad I wanted to tell you all about this. To put it shortly, my parents got the karma they very well deserved, and they provided me with the juiciest details because, of course, I was once again their dearest daughter, who was so smart, kind, and incapable of doing any evil. Just by the tone of their voice, I could tell that Jennifer had messed up once again, and boy, she really did. As it turns out, her rich, sober partner was nowhere as sober or rich as she described. In fact, he was a drug dealer. And my parents caught Jennifer red-handed doing drugs. That's not all, though. They did all of it a little too late, meaning they signed away their vacation home under her name as an engagement gift. I was dumbfounded hearing all of this. The worst was the part when my mom said, with tears in her eyes, that Jennifer wasn't pregnant, as she had informed us previously. I was shocked at both my parents' stupidity and Jennifer's good lying skills. Have to give her that. I fell for it too. LOL. According to them, Jennifer had once again disappeared completely. Well, that is where they need help, though. They want James, who is a lawyer, to help them to get the house back. I laughed at their faces, telling them that James is so done with them that he wouldn't even say hi to them. They seemed shocked at this response, as they expected me to just simply forgive everything they did to me. I wasn't, though, and I told them so very clearly before just getting up and leaving, not giving them an opportunity to speak. That is where my story ends. I have blocked the little sources they could contact me from and have also considered restraining orders and such if things ever get out of hand. This situation seems both like a blessing and a curse. More of a blessing because the day I celebrated my love with James became the day that universe showed me who the true villains of my life were, which I'm eternally grateful for. NTA, you handle this like a champ, because if I were in your shoes, I would have done so much worse than just throwing a fit. Your parents are toxic and disgusting, and you need to cut them out of your life because you can do so much better. NTA, I bet the sister was there to only steal the show, and poor OP fell for her antics. I'm sorry you had to go through that, OP. You deserve so much better. I, 39 female, make significantly more than my husband, 39, and was able to recently buy our dream home. I make about 250,000 as a doctor, while they make 30,000 as a teacher. Even though our pay range is very different, we were able to effectively divide finances in a way that works best for both of us. My sister-in-law, Sam, 30 female, are really close, and I have been supporting her through her IVF journey as she is dealing with infertility. This is important. Well, this past weekend, I decided to host a family gathering at my house. My husband's uncles, aunts, and parents were there. His grandparents were not there. I usually tend to avoid interacting with my husband's aunt, Susan, since she is known to talk a lot of shit about everyone, unprovoked. It's important to note that she lives with her mother. She is divorced and has a child that does not live with her. She essentially lives at her mother's house rent-free, and according to my husband, she does work, but I'm not sure of any plans she has of moving out. I was in the kitchen preparing food with my sister-in-law when we overheard Susan's convo with her friend over the phone. She was sitting in the living room. She said, Sam is probably going to be a horrible mother. That's why her body doesn't let her reproduce. Then she laughed, her ugly witch laugh. Usually, I try to keep the peace, but my God, I was upset. My sister-in-law was tearing up, and I knew I couldn't stay quiet. I stormed into the living room and yelled at her to get the hell out of my house if she doesn't have anything nice to say. She turned red because I guess her friend overheard. Stay out of my business. Maybe focus on how your husband is leeching off of you. Also, can't believe you brought such a hideous house. I was baffled at these words coming out of her mouth. I told her to leave, and she started to walk out the door. At this point, some family members were starting to gather in the living room, trying to calm the situation and console my sister-in-law. This is where I could be the a-hole. As she left, I said sarcastically, "Well, I think your mother's house is very nice. Lucky you," and slammed the door in her face. Some people told me I was a bit harsh since Susan is embarrassed to live with her mother. Some people told me my reaction was valid. Sister in law was thankful I spoke up. It's the day after, and Susan is demanding I apologize for humiliating her over something she has no control over. I knew I could have been more mature and regret inviting her. NTA, that wasn't even an insult compared to what she lobbed at you. If she doesn't want to be judged, she shouldn't go passing judgment on others. And if she's really that unhappy with her current circumstances, I don't buy that there are no alternatives available to her. She just apparently likes those even less, so she needs to make her peace with having chosen this one. NTA, kicking her out for her comments about sister-in-law was the right thing to do. Then she said, "You bought a hideous house," and you said, "Well, I think your mother's house is very nice. Lucky you." You are allowed to match energy for energy, especially when being insulted in your own home, but you actually didn't say anything negative at all. She just took it that way. I'm a 15-year-old female, and mother has been dating a man for around 10 months. And I had met him whenever they were around 2 months into dating. I didn't interact with him much after I first met him up until recently. He's constantly at my house, at least once a week. He's a loud, immature douchebag that feels the need to tease me. He yells at me for small things, like accidentally opening the door whenever he's busy sleeping and it waking him up, or whenever I accidentally leave the sink dripping. He smokes weed in the house and makes it smell really bad. He vapes whenever I'm in the car and it makes it hard to breathe. He makes fun of me whenever my baking comes out badly. I made snickerdoodle cookies a few weeks ago and they tasted so much better than they looked. I was the only one home at the time, and he tried one and said that they were really good. The next day, I came home from my boyfriend's house and my family was sitting in the kitchen talking. He points to the plate of my cookies and says, "Those look like shit," just to make my mom and siblings laugh. I do not like him at all. My birthday is coming up on October 2nd, and I knew my mom would try to bring him along. He doesn't live with us, but she constantly feels the need to bring him to every family event. We were supposed to go to my uncle's house to celebrate my birthday, so I texted my mom, asking to not invite him. He had already messed up my sister's birthday in August by yelling at her whenever she had a panic attack and started crying whenever they were in a restaurant. My mom asked why I didn't want him coming, and I told her because I didn't like him. She accused me of not liking him because he won't tolerate my backtalk. I don't even backtalk him unless he starts with making a snarky comment. We argued for an hour over text. She kept asking me why I didn't want him to come because I supposedly didn't give her an actual reason. I asked her if me not liking him wasn't a valid reason, and she said it wasn't because everyone else likes him. My sister, boyfriend, aunt, and grandma all dislike her boyfriend. Eventually, she just said that we'll cancel the plans to celebrate at my uncle's and that we'll just get dinner for my birthday without her boyfriend because she said I'm an a-hole and I hate on him for no reason and always cause a scene. So, am I the a-hole? NTA, you have every right to not want unpleasant company ruining your birthday, and you have every reason to suspect that your mom's boyfriend would ruin it, given how he treats you and how he acted on your sister's birthday. You not liking him absolutely should be a good enough reason. The only reason it's not is because your mom keeps deliberately choosing him over the family she already has. NTA, you and your family who also dislike him should all sit down with your mom and open her eyes to what a jackass he is. It's your birthday. You have a right to decide who you want to celebrate with.